Hi, my name is Mark-Sehl. I'm a psychoanalyst, and welcome to the site Therapy for the Heart. It's a new site, and I hope you'll find it of interest as we go along. I'm going to have several talks, maybe once a week, so you can look forward, I hope, to going from one to the other as we develop, really talking about therapy and how it works. And very hard for patients to come into therapy. In my experience, most patients feel that they're going to be judged, or they might feel that they have to do everything on their own and experience a bit of shame just walking through the door. And with good reason, because they often have been shamed or made to feel bad about themselves, so they project that into the situation. And I'm a stranger, so why shouldn't they be afraid? They don't know how I'm going to react to what they have to say, and what they have to say is loaded. And people are very much in pain when they come to therapy, so that has to be understood by the therapist. The therapist has to take it easy and not go too fast. There was a famous quote by D.W. Winnicott, and that quote goes like this. It says, "It's joy to be hidden and disaster not to be found." It's a very important dilemma that patients find and therapists find in their work together, is because your job is not to find out or discover a person. First of all, a person is going to have their own defenses about being discovered, and that's good. Defenses are very good. Therapists used to try anyway, to confront patients' defenses, to challenge them, which was a very bad idea. And unfortunately, I hope most of us are out of that by now. But a patient's dilemma is wanting to be recognized and known, but at the same time, their experiences in their life that they have not been, they have not had good experiences with being understood. Many parents, for instance, may say that they want to know about their children and what makes them, what they think and what they want to do in life, but that's often not the case. And we're going to be the first ones that can be experienced as taking an interest really in who this person is sitting across from me, what they would like for their life, what they think and what they feel. But again, it's not to be trusted, because, for instance, what happens often in childhood is that a parent might ask a child, well, what would you like to be when you grow up? And the child hesitates for a moment and then says, well, I'd like to be a musician. And all of a sudden they notice a little glimmer of disappointment. Children are very intuitive. They can pick up what's happening. They know more than we as adults think they know. So that disappointment registers. It's taken in as a criticism. Oh, I said the wrong thing. So the child will then turn around and say, well, maybe I'd like to be a doctor. And all of a sudden, when the child says that, the parent's eyes light up and they're very happy. But the child knows from that moment on, if this is repeated, that they're really not being invited to say how they really think or feel. They're really expected to fit into some kind of program or some kind of expected answer that fits the parents' needs and not theirs. So the start of therapies are very difficult. One, because the person that enters my office is not going to be feeling that they're going to be accepted, and because of past experiences about being judged and humiliated and sometimes physically and verbally abused, and sometimes deserted. So the first steps that a therapist needs to be aware of is not to be intrusive, not to ask too many questions, and wait till the person comes and says what they have to say about why they are coming to therapy. Questions shouldn't be intrusive because again, there's a lot of judgment that people feel in terms of their experiences that they're bringing to therapy, and they don't need anybody's help in judging them. So if they have a therapist who's going to wait, ask some questions when the door is open, and I mean when the door is open, not when you feel like as a therapist opening it, because that's your own, what they call countertransference. Often the therapists used to, in the olden days, In the beginning of the sessions, they might ask a patient about their sexual life, for instance, and that therapist has no business going there unless the person says, okay, here I'm having a sexual problem, I'd like to talk about that, and then that's different. But for the most part, a therapist has to be very respectful of the person's privacy and find out what that person is coming to therapy for. So that's what I ask people when they first come in, what brought you to talk to me today? And it's also very important to get some background when it comes up from the person in terms of their former treatment, because sometimes that treatment has not been very helpful. A lot of people come to me with experiences like their therapist talked a lot in their sessions, or they felt that their therapist wasn't interested, or the therapist made a lot of interpretations about them when they really didn't really know them that well. So I like to find out about the history of the therapy, what happened, and how it was resolved, and that might give an indication of how this therapy might go also. If somebody really was in therapy and they couldn't bring themselves to tell the therapist and be forthright about how they felt about their treatment, that could be a warning sign that I would pick up and then try to ask the person if they felt that that's the same thing happened with me, would they be able to talk about it? I want that person to be as free as they can. I mean, that's what therapy really is, trying to help one become free by expressing all of their thoughts and their feelings in their own time, at their own pace. But if you can say everything that's on your mind, that's the old dictum of the instruction that psychoanalysts used to make, is to help somebody say what's on their mind as freely and work through the resistances of saying things also. Excuse me. I'm a little nervous. This is my first video. So that's the introduction to the therapist and the patient in their first session. And what the therapist wants to do is to be able to be appreciative of that person coming in to see them, and understanding that they did tell them a lot about themselves the first time, and ask them if they would like to continue and talk about fee and what they might be able to afford, and see how often they would like to come. And that's always going to be up to the person, not the therapist's program about, well, I think you should come twice a week, once a week, once every other week. I really like to ask people how often they think they would like to come, and then we go from there. And so for today, that's going to be it. I'm going to have another talk on therapy for the heart, and I hope you can join me. I look forward to you visiting. Please leave a comment if you'd like on the site here, and I look forward to being able to talk to you again, and thank you very much.